Hey guys, today I'm going to use this to-go bowl. Got it at Jack in the Box, and it's a common one they use for a few of their different items. And it is, I'll get you some measurements in just a second. Maseto Silvertip, 24 millimeter. This is the Memphis handle. I like it a lot. I've had it soaking for a few minutes. It's a silver tip, so it doesn't need to be soaked for a lot. But I'll go ahead and stick it in there anyway while we look at the rest of our gear. I have been interested in just testing out this razor lately. I've used it a few times now. This is the 15 millimeter Gillette Nacet, and it doesn't have a bump right here, and so that means it's the deluxe version. And to me, the deluxe version shaves a lot better. At least I know with the 17 millimeter it does. This one has a gap of 15 millimeter between these, where the teeth come in and then stop and become solid brass. You can measure that distance, and that's 15 millimeters. And this one has been just slightly irritating me the last few shaves. First time I thought maybe it was the soap, the face lather, and the soap was a little too intense. Again, I used it later, and it was with a boar brush that had some prickle to it. Well, was it the brush? So today I picked a soft brush and Stirling, a well-known great lather, and so I know that it's going to help me to find out if this razor might be less smooth than the 17, and perhaps even less smooth to a degree where I maybe want to pass it on to somebody else. Who knows? We'll just see. So here's the rail there that keeps everything aligned with the 4 posts on the corners that do the same job. Here's the top of the base plate, and then here's the bottom of the deluxe. On that razor, on that base plate, we are going to put a Nacet, a blade that does really well for me in so many different razors. I've got one that's gone 220 shaves, and it's still not quite done yet. This is not that one. This is a common bar handle, from what I understand. I believe with the deluxe, it did not come with this exact handle. I think somebody said that it had some cutoff right here where it wasn't quite as rounded. It was slightly different than this one, but obviously this one will be compatible and serve and do the job just fine. The soap we're going to use today is Fair Debonaire from 2018, a meetup that happened back then, and Stirling made a soap for all the attendees. And I got a hold of some, and from what I understand, it is pretty much the same as the Haverford, what later would become the Haverford scent, a tobacco and vanilla predominant note scent, which I enjoy. So I'm looking forward to having and trying that tonight. All right, just a little bit of water on my face. And here's my usual lather bowl. And here's this guy. Now the outer diameter of this flange is kind of similar. Let me get some measurements for you. And what we have as far as this flange doesn't really matter too much, so we'll just deal with the interior diameter is 5 inches, a little bit more, hair more, but 5 inches, and then the interior depth is, about 1 3/4 inch, 1 7/8, all the way up to this curved lip, which I guess is what matters. If it comes up to this little step right there, it's still not out of the bowl. So, almost 2 inches, 1 7/8 deep, and 5 inches wide. Let's just see how this guy works. He has a texture that is a little pebbled, almost like a bead blasted texture. So I think that's going to serve to give us some friction with our lather. And then it's got this step up inside here, you can see there, and I think that's going to definitely give us some agitating action as well. But I don't think we really need all that much. But so let's try this guy out. Jack in the Box to-go container. I've heard that people also are using the Chinese to-go containers as well. Some of the different Chinese restaurants offer round to-go pieces. All right, so vanilla tobacco scent. Yeah, smells great. Let's load up. I'm just going to do a 25-second load. My usual thing of shaking most of the water out. This brush holds quite a bit of water. All right, so 25-second load, and we'll start at 35. And so then we can just go to the 0 mark of the minute. The late night shave. Took a little nap today. It was a nice lazy Saturday. It's good to have one of those every once in a while. It's definitely a dark colored soap. And so if you have a brush that you use that you're a little bit vain about, then you may want to pick a different one for this soap, because I've heard the coloring, it can stain some brushes. Now, I think I heard somebody say, and it may have been somebody authoritative, say that it would be temporary and eventually it would just it would work out fine. But just want to give you that notice. Really like this Silvertip, soft, medium-low backbone with the bristles and then nice soft tips. And so it's a very comfortable, luxurious type brush. If you like high backbone, probably not the one for you. So we'll brush for a little bit. I was looking at my data on the Stirling, and so many times I load for about 30 seconds and I end up with 5 passes of lather. It all depends on the brush, because if the brush is more stiff, then you get more soap loaded onto the brush for that given number of seconds. One time I had 30 seconds that took me, 30 seconds of loading that gave me 7 passes of lather. So that's why I went with just a 25 today. I'll probably still have plenty. And so I found, I looked on trythatsoap.com for the notes for the 2018 Fair Debonaire. Well, that soap wasn't in there. Well, that's a while back, and it's discontinued and all that stuff. It was a limited release. But I did a Google search for Fair Debonaire. I tried the search on Try That Soap, and all the hits were for Haverford. So I looked in the description for Haverford, and sure enough, they mentioned that this was the same scent they took to the Fair Debonaire. So that's how I knew it was the same. Well, as you can see, I'm able to move around pretty easily, and nothing's overflowing right now, but I could see maybe some overflow potential as the lather develops. It is kind of keeping the brush, and I'm not pressing really hard, but it is keeping the center of the brush kind of in a permanent splay. You lighten up a little bit with the pressure, see if that helps things. Yeah, there we go. Been face lathering lately, and I'm glad to be getting back to the bowl. I just like having, so there's some overflow having to deal with. I just like having a consistent lather instead of always having to work at it. I like to get it down first before I put it on my face, and then I have this nice lather consistent for all my passes. Okay, let's add a little bit more water. 2 teaspoons now in the lather. Now with this particular bowl, the lather that gets up on the corners there, you kind of have to fish down a little bit. But hey, if you're looking for inexpensive bowls, it looks like this one might be a good option for you. Kind of free bowls, if you will. Go and get some food. I think these contain the gravy biscuits when they had the gravy biscuits at Jack in the Box. My son liked those and thought they were okay. But then recently I got something. Man, what was it? Something different. All right, let's just use this lather as it exists right now. Pretty good looking. Let's try it out. Water on my face again. One of these days I'm going to remember to get a clip or a rubber band or something to keep that towel on the hook when I'm doing my shaving stuff with it. You know, there is a little bit of spice in here as well, instead of just a sweet type scent with tobacco and vanilla. I did look at the notes, and for the Haverford scent, there was 5 or 6 pieces to it. Maybe one of those is almost like a clove or some kind of spicy pepper maybe, or something like that. Yeah, this guy's being fairly soft and nice to me. It's not oversplaying. See, it's still kind of keeping the knot. It's not. I don't see a huge hole right there. You know. I do feel like adding just a bit of water to it. That bowl didn't really make me feel like adding water was going to be a easy thing. Looked like it would be some management to keep the lather in and all that, so I figured I'd just add a little bit extra if I needed to on my face here. Yeah, there we go. Smaller brush would probably be even better with that bowl. Yeah, it's a good lather. You can see we generated some by adding that water there. All right. All right, so now let's see how the feel of this razor is now that we don't have any brush irritation. And we've got a nice smooth lather that's almost certainly not going to irritate my skin due to it not being hydrated quite well enough. First pass, I do feel, you know, the blade a little bit. So it's definitely not quite as nice as its 17 millimeter brother. We'll see how it feels by the end of the shave. Sometimes things increase in aggression, in the perceived feel of the aggression as you as you remove more hair each pass. All right. Anise, maybe? Wonder what else he put in here. I kind of Would probably have liked it without the kind of the spice. I like the sweet tobacco and vanilla type scents, but to be fair, I mean, there are plenty of other options out there with vanilla and tobacco, I believe. I think I've seen some from other makers, so maybe. Oh, you know what? Tom Ford. There's a scent from Tom Ford that's vanilla and tobacco, and so maybe it since it was, I think it was the inspiration, maybe it had some spicy notes in it as well. Of course, they call it Haverford because a little tribute to Parks and Recreation TV show character on there, Tom Haverford, played by Aziz Ansari, and I'm a fan of that show as well. That's a nice comfortable pass right there. And he tried always to be upscale and things like that, and so they named this one after him. I don't know if he specifically mentioned that cologne or aftershave or whatever as a part of his character on the show, but that's where the match came from. Well, it looks like the 25 second load was a good idea. I've still got plenty of soap for 3 passes and a touch-up pass if needed. Brush, very soft, feels better as the shade goes along. The first pass, it doesn't feel quite as good and soft because I'm guessing it's getting caught up in, some of the stubble. 24-hour growth is all I had, but sometimes it messes with brushes and doesn't quite let them feel as good as they're going to feel once the hair's removed, because that's very comfortable just then. I'm just sticking with cross grain. Pass here on my cheeks for my third pass instead of going against the grain. That gives me, I could go against the grain on my cheeks, but I get such a close shave, I just don't bother. On my neck, if I went against the grain, I personally would get cuts and irritation for almost every razor that I have. I will change the direction though. Instead of my usual cross grain pattern right here from going from this way, I'll switch it and take a very light, oh yeah, that feels pretty good. Nice. I'll bet that's going to end really well with a nice close cut. After that first pass, I had a really nice rinse. The lather was terrific, slick and creamy and all those wonderful words. And so that's what we get with Stirling. Yeah, pretty good shave. Just a couple of hairs right there that maybe have some length on them. No big deal at all. I like the closeness with this one. Matter of fact, I've had other razors that maybe didn't give me any with any length on them. However, there was just a general idea of more of a shadow where this razor did not. It is not giving me that. So I like the shave on it, and it got smoother and it felt better as everything went along. I could feel the blade on that first pass just a little bit, but it ended very well. So this probably is not as smooth as the 17, but I'm really happy with it, and I think we'll keep it in the rotation. And what I like about it especially is that this is the traditional 3-piece design. My 15 millimeter is the Criterion handle, where it has the where the base plate here is permanently affixed to a portion of the handle, and then from one end of the handle goes in, it's got a knob that then screws into the screw here, but then this one on that other razor is longer, so they meet up in the middle and hold everything together, and so you can't switch that particular head to other razor handles like you can with this guy. So I'll definitely keep this one around. I need to figure out how I'd like to clean this top cap up a little bit, but I need to do some research. I don't know whether it's copper or like a red brass, whether this is just normal patina. You know, I need to find out exactly what it is before I do cleaning, because there are a few razors out there where if it has a thin film of maybe a gold plate or something like that, that if you use very much on it at all, it'll just come right off. So in most cases, I think in general, it's a good idea to do your research on the plating, on the finish of your particular vintage razor before you start going at it with flits or moss or, you know, some type of polish. Well, I don't think I'm going to be replacing any of my normal bowls, even my Dollar Tree bowls, with this one, but I think it did a reasonable job, and looks like the 25 seconds was a pretty good amount, a pretty perfect amount of soap, at least in this case, with a soft Silvertip Badger. I think this is a good amount of margin to have at the end, so I like that. So another win for the Silvertip, just a nice, comfy, luxurious brush. With the bores, I definitely like to strop them on a towel after use, help dry them out, increase that dry time, or rather decrease the amount of time it takes to dry them. With the Badgers, I like to as well, especially larger ones. I mean, this is only a 24 millimeter, but you can see the bloom is quite large, and so I want that middle to not have any of the extra wetness, and so I sling it out in the sink there, drop it on the towel, and now there's not really any drops that are affected by gravity. And so if you want to, it's still kind of a new brush, and so if I get a little hair every once in a while, it's not a big deal. We'll wait till we get maybe 60 uses on it before I start complaining about that. You can hang it upside down if you want, or right side up. Either way, it'll dry the same amount of time. The only thing I have ever thought about as being a possible effect or negative of that would be dust. If you notice, if you have a dusty environment, if it's upside, if it's right side up like this, you could have, you know, a little bit of dust on there. If you have brushes that where you don't rotate to them as often, but I think for most people, it's not really going to be a big deal. I like this guy. All right, pretty happy with the razor, and the blade worked well with it today. The Haverford, yeah, you know what? The first time I tested it, the Haverford, I didn't notice this spicy scent. Maybe the fact that I was, just before doing this video, I'm doing a DIY video for this stick of Arco that's in here that I combined with Stetson aftershave to kind of make a DIY soap. And so I'm recording small clips each day, or each day that I do something to it. Today was a press down kind of operation. Maybe that Stetson scent is changing and affecting the way my nose is perceiving the Haverford or the fair Debonaire. So who knows, maybe that could be happening. Anyway, good time, soft brush, good soap, felt good on my face. Oh, let's see what kind of post shave we have. I was looking maybe for a Stirling balm, but I don't think my Executive Man or maybe Sharp Dress Man, I don't know. I don't know if they would really work too well with the kind of the tobacco and the spicy that's going on here. I can still kind of smell it. There's definitely a stronger note to this than other Stirling soaps where it's hanging around a little bit longer. So let's just try a splash, kind of a whiskey woods. Let's see how that combines, if that combines well with the tobacco and the vanilla type scent. And I know this Stirling and the razor and the brush were kind to my face. I don't really feel too much stinging, so there we go. This is about the only Clubman that I like. I don't like the traditional Clubman. I was so disappointed when I got this from Amazon. It wasn't too expensive, but the picture there was no scale to it. And so I thought it was going to be about this high. And then I got it in this little guy. Now, granted, see, I've used it several times, but it's take a while to go down. So I'm not complaining, but it was just a little bit of a visual shock because I thought it would be larger. And yeah, I think that Whiskey Woods is going nicely with the vanilla and the tobacco and the spices. So that looks like a win. The water we used was 2.5 teaspoons today with a 25-second load with a nice soft but biggish Badger brush. All right, 2.5. There we go. I'm just going to keep on cleaning up gear. I think that's all we need. I think I've summed up how I was feeling happy about all the pieces to this shave, and I hope there was something here for you that helps you out. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.